Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. Today we are going to review First Impact Rise of a Hero VR, a game released on the Steam Store June 8th, 2018 by developer Red Meat Games. First Impact Rise of a Hero is available for the HTC Vive, Valve Index, and the Oculus Rift. It normally retails for $20. I actually got this on sale back in October of 2019 for $4. I tested this game out on the Oculus Quest 2 using the Oculus Link cable and also Windows Mixed Reality. And the reason I had to test this game out on Windows Mixed Reality is because the default controller bindings on the Oculus touch controllers is absolutely terrible. This game is really not playable on touch controllers by default. Maybe if you edit controller bindings it might be workable, and I didn't try to fix it with editing controller bindings, and that's why I switched to Windows Mixed Reality. But yeah, it's not playable by default. So unless you're comfortable with editing controller bindings, I would definitely say this game is just not playable on the Oculus Quest 2 or the Oculus Rift. The controller bindings were definitely a lot better on Windows Mixed Reality, but even then, they weren't exactly what I would call good, and the game overall is just very buggy, and I just don't recommend it. In fact, this game would not even load up properly. It would crash by default, and I had to do a Windows 7 compatibility fix to get it to run properly on both the Oculus Quest 2 and Windows Mixed Reality as well. So beware of that. If you buy this game, more than likely you're going to have to do a Windows 7 compatibility fix. If not, your game is going to crash as soon as you start it. Outside of those issues, the game is still very buggy. So even though the game doesn't load up properly by default and the controller bindings by default on the Oculus touch controllers are just terrible, this game still has severe issues even outside those issues. But those issues are definitely difficult to ignore, and honestly I just wouldn't recommend this game to anyone, even if you can get past those two issues of the bad controller bindings and or the game not loading up properly. First Impact Rise of a Hero VR is running on the Unity engine. On my RTX 3080 I was getting a steady 90 frames per second. You do have full locomotion and snap turning as well. However, I have to admit both of those things barely functioned even on Windows Mixed Reality, but especially on the Oculus touch controllers. It just wasn't very responsive. It made the game very frustrating to play, and that's why I just had to stop. The game was not working at all, and the missions weren't exciting. Using your powers wasn't fun to use at all, and basically this game is just a broken piece of garbage that's not worth playing at all in the state that it's in. Almost nothing works right, and just the game design, it was very ambitious, and I could see this game probably being good if it was ever developed properly, but the execution is just terrible all around, and the gameplay is just too simple. I'm honestly hard pressed to say anything positive about First Impact Rise of a Hero. About the only thing I can mention is that at least on my RTX 3080 it was running fine. That's about the only positive I can think of. And maybe it does have like a nice art style, but again, the execution is just too vanilla. The game world just seems very disheveled. It doesn't seem like a whole lot of thought went to its design, so the world just seems pretty vanilla and not that interesting to look at. And that's a shame, because I do believe that First Impact Rise of a Hero had the chance to be the best superhero game in VR, but as you can see, each of them are flawed, and this game is no different. But at least it was an ambitious title, and it was going for something more than the other ones. A lot of the other superhero titles in VR are just way too simplistic, with just some very generic ideas on the superhero fantasy that we all want for VR, and at least this one was going for something different, something more ambitious with a lot more depth. Unfortunately, the lack of execution here brings it down to the level of the other VR superhero games. So this one also is bad and simple, just like the other ones, but for different reasons. Here it clearly is the lack of proper execution. This is a game that was in early access, but as you can see, this is the problem with early access games. Get dumped in early access, and basically basically what would be a prototype or a demo state, and that's what this game is. It's a demo, it's not a very good one, and there's nice ideas here, but they were never developed properly. So the game was released out of early access, but in a broken state with a very simplified system, and it's just not a good game at all. In fact, out of all the superhero VR games I have reviewed, I have to say that First Impact Rise of a Hero surprisingly is the worst one, just because it's so underdeveloped, it's so undercooked that the finished product is just maddening to play. There's nothing fun about this. You feel like you're beta testing for the developer for a game that's just totally broken. It's barely playable at all. You do have different superpowers, and they're all based on the elements. So you have fire, you have water, you have earth, and you have wind, and you have some nice superpowers. With the fire, you can run faster, and you can also throw these fireballs, and then you can do this fire defense. With the wind, you can throw these little tornadoes, and it'll lift up enemies, and you can fly in the air. Even the flying in the air is always problematic in this game because you just fly so slow. Then you have the earth powers, and then you just create these huge walls of earth. It's actually pretty fun to use, and you can jump higher too with the earth power. Finally, you have the water powers, and you just basically throw these water droplets at enemies or these ice cubes on defense. The interesting thing about water is that the superpower there is teleport, and this is the worst teleport mechanic I have ever seen in VR. Yeah, this is not good. Anyways, I cannot recommend First Impact Rise of a Hero. It's a really bad, broken, buggy game that's just like a prototype for a game, and if I have to rate it, I would give it a 3 out of 10. This is pretty bad. Anyways, I'm Fast Lawyer. If you like my review, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.